Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive with us. Today, we're looking at J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance?
You might know him from Hillbilly Elegy.
Oh, yeah.
But now he's gone from, telling us all about his Rust Belt roots to being the Vice President of the United States.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
Yeah, and what's so interesting to me is, like you said, he's going from the Rust Belt to the halls of power, and his story is really kind of a microcosm of what's happening in American society in terms of like class and opportunity and the way political lines are being redrawn.
Yeah, and I'm excited to dive into all of that.
Yeah.
We have a biographical excerpt that's going to sort of guide us along this journey.
Perfect.
So why don't we just start at the very beginning?
Right.
J.D. Vance's childhood.
Okay.
We're talking about Middletown, Ohio, and Jackson, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Not necessarily places that have been, thriving over the last couple of decades.
No, definitely not the picture of prosperity we're talking about here.
Not at all.
And, to add on top of just the economic hardship of these places, you have to consider that his early life was also marked by his parents' divorce and his mother really struggling with drug addiction.
Yeah.
And these are all experiences that become like really central to his worldview later on, like just fundamental to how he sees the world.
It's a tough start.
Yeah.
But then you have, this really prominent figure in his life.
Yes.
Mama,
Mama.
his grandmother.
Right.
She seems like this incredible tough love.
Yes.
No nonsense force in his life.
Yes. Very much a force.
I'm curious, did she play a role in the successes he found later in life?
Absolutely. She instilled in him this resilience and a belief in hard work and a real emphasis on education as like a way out. You could say that without Mama in the picture, we might not be talking about J.D. Vance in the same way we are today.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to think about the impact individuals can have on our trajectories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then he does something kind of out of the blue. Yeah. Joins the Marines right out of high school.
Big shift.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, what?
It is, yeah.
So, what do you think about that? Going from this really chaotic upbringing to then suddenly being in this environment of extreme discipline.
It's really fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
He goes from that chaos to the structure and regimen of the Marines and even gets deployed to Iraq.
Wow.
So you have to think about how these experiences, the discipline of being in the military and the experience of conflict really shaped how he looks at things.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine that didn't have a profound effect on him.
Right. It's very formative.
Totally. And then he goes from that
to
graduating from Ohio State in under 2 years.
Yeah. That's wild.
That's crazy.
Right.
The guy is driven.
He is driven. There's no doubt about it.
Goes from the Marines to blazing through college and then
Yale Law School.
Yale Law, which is
quite a journey.
Quite a journey, yeah.
Yeah.
From Middletown to Yale Law.
It's a real rags to riches story if you've ever heard one.
It really is. And wasn't that also where he met his wife?
It was. Usha
Chillicuri, yes.
Wow.
So he goes to Yale.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's in this very elite space.
Right. Surrounded by
The future.
Yeah, like the future.
Leaders of the country.
Yeah.
The intellectual and political circles that really shape and move things.
But,
But there's always this...
It's like he's always got one foot back in Middletown.
Yeah, that feeling of being between two worlds
Yeah.
becomes really key to his writing and his political identity.
I'm fascinated to hear more about that as we go.
Yeah, it's a tension that plays out throughout his career.
Yeah, so that brings us to 2016.
Okay.
Hillbilly Elegy.
The book that kind of...
The book that puts him on the map.
Really puts him on the map in a big way.
Huge bestseller.
Huge bestseller.
What do you think resonated with people so much about that?
Well, the timing was really key.
It was released right before the 2016 election when, things were really polarized.
Yeah.
And a lot of people saw it as offering this window into the struggles of the white working class, a group that felt increasingly ignored by politicians.
It was controversial, though.
It was, yeah.
Oh, right.
There are critics.
Some people felt like he was oversimplifying really complex issues.
Yeah, and that maybe even...
Or reinforcing stereotypes.
Yeah, exactly. And then
there was the movie.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah.
Definitely added fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
It's important to keep in mind that Hillbilly Elegy is a memoir, a personal story. It's not meant to be this definitive sociological analysis or anything, but it definitely did start an important conversation about class and culture and economic anxiety.
Okay, so then things take a turn.
A turn.
We're talking about Vance was initially critical of Trump and then becomes a vocal supporter.
Big shift, right.
Yeah, what do you think was behind that?
I think it's a reflection of a much broader political shift that was happening.
Okay.
You know, Vance saw in Trump someone who spoke to those frustrations of the working class, someone who promised to change things.
To really upend the system.
Yeah, to upend the system. He seemed to genuinely believe that Trump represented a chance for real change.
Okay, yeah. So that kind of leads into his own political career.
Yes, it does.
He wins a Senate seat in Ohio in 2022, running on a platform of economic revitalization, skepticism towards globalization.
Right, bringing jobs back to America.
Do you think his past experiences played a role in shaping that platform?
Absolutely. I mean, he campaigned on things like bringing back manufacturing jobs, addressing the opioid epidemic, which hit places like Middletown really hard, and standing up for veterans. You know, it was a platform that was drawn from his life and the communities he represented. It was very authentic to his experience.
And then another surprise. He becomes Trump's running mate in 2024.
It's a meteoric rise.
It is, leading to his current position as vice president.
And all of a sudden, he's in the second highest office in the land.
It's crazy.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
And, it puts him under a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
His close relationship with Trump, his stances on social issues like abortion and immigration, all of that draws criticism and fuels debate.
So much to unpack.
So much to unpack.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
We've just started.
But it's a fascinating story so far.
Yeah, it is.
Really a reflection of the changing political landscape and all the divisions within America today.
Absolutely. And we'll dive deeper into all of those nuances as we continue this conversation.
Perfect. But before we do that,
something's
been on my mind.
Okay.
I was thinking about how, Vance's story is all about having a voice.
Right. Making yourself heard.
Yeah. And it made me think about what we're doing here at Standing in the Gaps.
Yes.
We're trying to do the same thing.
Right. We want to bring these important stories and ideas to light.
And to do that even better.
Yeah.
To reach more people. We've decided to launch a GoFundMe campaign.
GoFundMe. Yeah. Love it.
So we're hoping to raise funds to upgrade some of our equipment.
What kind of upgrades are we talking about?
So we're looking at getting some better webcams.
Oh, that'd be great.
Studio microphones for clearer audio. Faster computers for editing.
Okay.
It might seem like small stuff, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. Those little things really add up.
Yeah, it really elevates the whole experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right about this.
We want to create just the best possible listening experience for all of you.
Absolutely. We want to make these deep dives even more engaging and informative.
So if you believe in what we're doing and you want to support Standing in the Gaps, please consider donating.
It's a great cause.
We're going to share all the details about the campaign at the end of this episode.
Perfect.
But for now, let's get back to Janie Vance.
Okay.
And explore this next chapter of his incredible journey.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Okay, so we've covered Vance's journey from this pretty difficult childhood all the way to, the top levels of government.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about his story and how it kind of connects to the bigger picture of American politics today?
Well, one thing that's really striking is how Vance's story illustrates how the dynamics of the American working class are changing.
Yeah.
It's not one big group.
Right.
And we've really seen those political allegiances shift over time.
Yeah, and Vance really embodies that.
Yeah.
He was able to connect with the sense of people feeling disillusioned, feeling like the traditional political establishment wasn't really paying attention to them.
And he wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo.
Exactly.
Even if it meant siding with someone as polarizing as Trump.
Right. He really embraced that populist message.
Yeah.
And it resonated with people who felt unheard.
It's interesting, though, because Vance's story also makes us think about class and identity in America.
Yeah.
He's really embraced that term hillbilly.
Yeah.
But that comes with a lot of baggage.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stereotypes.
Right.
Do you think that he's exploited those stereotypes at all?
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think, you could argue that. But the real question is, can he go beyond just using those stereotypes and actually advocate for policies that really help the working class without, just further dividing people?
Well, right, without just driving us further apart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what about his relationship with Trump?
I mean, you can't talk about Vance without talking about Trump.
Right. It's played such a huge role in his career.
On a strategic level.
Yeah.
It gave him access to this huge base of support.
Yeah.
But you also see this ideological alignment.
Yeah.
This idea of putting America first.
This emphasis on the needs of the working class even if it means going against, what we think of as like global interests or global cooperation.
But it's risky, too.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I mean, Trump is still so divisive.
Right, and that association could hurt him in the long run.
Yeah, alienate more moderate voters.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder about his ambitions.
Right.
Is he okay with being the second in command?
Yeah.
Or is he looking at, maybe running for president himself one day?
I mean, it's hard to say what the future holds.
Yeah, it really is.
But it's clear that, Vance's story reflects these anxieties that are driving so much of American politics right now.
Yeah, this fear and uncertainty about the future.
Yeah, this feeling that the system is broken and that things need to change.
His journey from hillbilly to vice president is kind of both inspiring and a little unsettling.
It is. It's complex.
Yeah, it really is.
I think it forces us to think about some hard truths about class and opportunity and what the American dream even means anymore.
Right. Does it even exist anymore for everyone?
Yeah. It challenges our assumptions about who deserves success and what it takes to make it in a world that's constantly changing.
Yeah. And I think, as we all try to navigate these changes, both in our personal lives and in politics, it's more important than ever to support those independent voices.
Yeah.
And, encourage critical thinking.
I totally agree.
To not just accept things at face value.
Right.
But to really question.
Dig deeper.
And to think for ourselves.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
Standing in the gaps, right?
Absolutely. We want to help people understand.
Yeah, we want to help people connect the dots.
Yeah, connect the dots, see the big picture, and have these really important conversations about the things that matter.
Exactly.
And to do that even better.
Right.
We need to be able to reach more people.
And to do that, we need your help.
Yeah, that's where that GoFundMe comes in.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about this throughout the episode, but we wanted to share a little bit more about what it's all about.
Okay, tell us more.
We're hoping to raise money to upgrade our equipment.
Right.
Like I said, things like better webcams, studio microphones, so the sound is crisp and clear.
Crystal clear audio.
Faster computers for smoother editing.
That's always good.
Yeah. So, it might seem like little things.
Right.
But they really add up to a much better experience.
Yeah, they do. The little things make a big difference.
So if you like what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And you want to support Standing in the Gaps.
And you want to see us grow.
Yeah, and see us grow.
Yeah.
Please consider contributing.
It's a great cause.
We'll share a link to the GoFundMe on our website and our social media.
Perfect.
So keep an eye out for that.
All right.
But now let's get back to J.D. Vance.
Oh.
And look at what kind of influence he might have as vice president.
Yeah, let's get into the specifics.
What policy areas is he likely to focus on?
What's his agenda?
How's his approach to governing going to differ from, previous vice presidents?
Yeah, what's he going to prioritize?
I think there's a lot to uncover there.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
All right, so let's get into some specifics.
All right, let's do it.
Given his background, his political platform, what are some of the key areas we might see Vance's influence as vice president?
Well, I think the first one that comes to mind is the economy.
Okay.
Vance has talked a lot about revitalizing American manufacturing.
Right. Bringing back jobs.
Bringing back jobs, pushing back against what he sees as unfair trade deals.
Yeah, and that ties in so much with his appeal to that working class.
Absolutely.
Saying that globalization has really hurt American workers, led to those factory closures, job losses.
A lot of people feel like the system hasn't been working for them.
Yeah, and he's been especially critical.
Oh, yeah.
Of China, their economic practices.
He wants to get tough on trade.
Yeah.
But it's tricky because there are a lot of concerns about protectionism.
Right. Could lead to trade wars.
Exactly, which could end up hurting the economy.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
As vice president.
A delicate balance.
Yeah.
For sure.
Another big one for him is the opioid crisis. I mean, he's seen it firsthand in Middletown.
Yeah. This is where you really see his personal experience coming through.
Yeah.
He's seen how addiction destroys families, communities. Yeah. It's not just some policy issue for him.
Right.
It's personal.
And he's called for a pretty multifaceted approach.
He has.
Right. More funding for treatment.
Yeah.
Prevention. Cracking down on, the flow of these illegal drugs.
Trying to tackle it from all sides.
Yeah.
It's an issue that could potentially bring both sides together.
Yeah.
We might see some actual bipartisan cooperation on this.
I mean, we can't talk about J.D. Vance without talking about his social views.
Right, which are pretty conservative.
Very conservative.
Yeah.
He's been very outspoken about his opposition to abortion.
Yes.
And he's taken a pretty hard line on immigration. And those stances have drawn a lot of criticism.
Oh, yeah.
Especially from those who feel like it's out of touch with most Americans.
That's true. But those views also align with a big chunk of voters, especially in the Republican Party.
Yeah. So it's going to be another
balancing act.
Yeah, huge balancing act for him.
For sure.
To try to govern for everybody.
Yeah.
While holding those views.
It's a tough job.
Yeah, it's a tough job.
No doubt.
I mean, it raises so many questions for me.
Oh, yeah.
About where the country's headed.
Right.
You know, how do we bridge these divides?
Yeah. How do we find that common ground?
Yeah, when everything feels so polarized.
Big questions.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so important to stay informed, to be part of the conversation.
To try to see things from different perspectives.
Yeah, it's easy to just focus on those headlines.
Yeah.
You know, the sound bites. Wow. But we need to go deeper. Think critically.
And be willing to, challenge our own assumptions.
Exactly.
And that's what we try to do here at Standing in the Gaps.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right? We want to help people make sense of things.
Make sense of it all.
Yeah.
This crazy world.
Right, because it is crazy out there.
It is.
Yeah.
To do that even better.
Yeah.
We need your help.
That's right. We've been mentioning our GoFundMe campaign throughout this episode.
Just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we wanted to give you guys some more details. Okay. We're trying to raise money to upgrade our equipment.
Right. Make things sound better, look better.
Yeah. Better webcams.
Yeah. Studio microphones. So the audio is top-notch.
Faster computers for editing.
All the behind-the-scenes stuff, that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Those little things make a big difference.
They really do.
We want to make sure that we're creating the best possible listening experience for you guys. Absolutely.
Make these deep dives even more engaging and informative.
That's the goal.
So if you like what we're doing and you want to support Standing in the Gaps, please consider donating to our campaign.
Every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
You can find a link to our GoFundMe page on our website.
And our social media.
Yeah.
Check it out.
And from both of us, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
On this deep dive into the life and career of J.D. Vance.
Such a fascinating story.
Fascinating story.
Yeah.
And it's not over yet.
It's just beginning.
So we'll be following it closely.
We'll keep you updated.
Until next time.
Keep those brains buzzing.
And keep standing in the gaps.